This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some important update to share with you. A new federal stimulus has been proposed. I'll give you the details on that. Bernie Sanders, I'll play a video clip of what he says there, how more aid needs to go to the American people and what can fix this country. Also, when it comes to child tax credit, I'll let you know which states have expanded the child tax credit and given it a boost and how long those will last for. Fed has just announced that they are going to hike the interest rates again. I'll give you details on that and some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Thursday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So Fed raises rates by another 0.75 of a percentage point, pledges more hikes to fight inflation. So supposedly this is going to bring down inflation back to what it was before, maybe around 2% instead of 8.3%. Is this going to happen though? Take a look at this video clip right here explaining more.
Just moments ago, the Fed releasing another interest rate increase of the 0.75 of a percentage point. This is the fifth time the Fed has raised rates this year. And based on a forecast from Chair Jerome Powell, there are likely two more increases still to come. Joining me now, NBC Business and Data reporter Brian Chung. Brian, good to talk to you. So this is yet another 0.75 of a percentage point. This is exactly the number that was predicted to come through. Nonetheless, it's going to hurt, especially when it comes to borrowing for folks. The idea, though, is ultimately, right, to avoid a recession and slow inflation. Your reaction to this decision by the Fed?
That's exactly it, Yasmin. When we talk about what the Federal Reserve did about 15 minutes ago, the decision coming in, the Fed making that 0.75 percentage point interest rate increase, that, by the way, is the third consecutive move of that magnitude. That means that they're targeting short-term rates between 3 and 3.25 now. Now, that's significant because we've already seen the previous Fed moves lead to more expensive auto loans, mortgages, other types of credit products, which means this is the Fed's effort continuing to try to slow this overheating economy. Now, the Fed messaging in the statement about 15 minutes ago that more interest rate hikes will be coming in the future. Economic projections show the Fed could have another 1% of interest rate hikes over the next year and a half. We'll have to see if the Fed follows through on that.
What are your thoughts on that? Should the Fed stay out of it? Should they increase more interest rates? Will that help everything? Let me know your thoughts on that. When it comes to Bernie Sanders, so Bernie Sanders saying Cruz GOP challenging student debt plan will hurt them politically. Also, he has a few other ideas of how aid can help the American people. Take a look at what Bernie Sanders has to say here.
There are a whole bunch of competitive Senate seats this year, some of which are within a few points that are going to determine control of the chamber. According to 538, Democrats right now have a 71% chance of holding the Senate. Their model appears to show Democrats could pick up as many as 7 seats, so that would be a winning the lottery kind of night, right? Now, this is in a year where even just 6 months ago, it sure looked like Democrats were screwed, no hope. But now the Democrats have a shot. What would it look like to have a majority of Democratic senators who could, for instance, override the filibuster, move on popular legislative priorities like guaranteeing the right to an abortion? What possibilities are there if Democrats buck history in the midterm elections? Joining me now is Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, chair of the Senate Democratic Outreach Committee. Senator, first, let me take your temperature on how you think things are looking for retaining control of the Senate, these tough contested races, in an environment that historically has been very difficult for the party that controls the White House.
Well, I would say that things are better than they were a few months ago, but as you indicated, there are many, many seats out there that are within the margin of error, so we don't know how these things will end up. But to my mind, Chris, to answer your question, if Democrats are going to do well in 2022, in my view, they've got to stand up very firmly for working families, make it clear that we are seeing unprecedented levels of corporate greed, unprecedented levels of concentration of ownership in this country, all the while working families are struggling, and in many instances seeing a decline in their standard of living. So I think now is the time, if you want to win an election, to say, you know what, I'm on the side of the vast majority of Americans, black, white, Latino. I'm prepared to take on greedy, powerful corporate interests who are enjoying record-breaking profits while you Americans can't afford health care, can't afford to send your kids to college, and are working for starvation wages. That, to my mind, is how you go forward and win.
One of the big accomplishments of the unified Democratic governance was the announcement of the president's cancellation, $10,000 of student debt, $20,000 for those who are getting Pew grants. You can chart a clear trajectory from your presidential campaign that championed that issue along with Elizabeth Warren to it actually happening. And there was a lot of back and forth. Is this going to cause a backlash? Are people going to be resentful because I had to pay my loans? What is your sense of the outcome of this in terms of what it's meant for what it's meant for people's lives and also what it's meant politically?
I have the radical idea that good policy is good politics. And it is good policy to cancel student debt in this country. I cannot tell you, Chris, how many young and middle-aged people I have talked to who have hesitated, having children, can't afford to buy a house, whose lives are in economic trouble because they're paying off these huge student debts. So what Biden did was the right thing. I would have gone further. It's what the people want. I'm not going to tell you it's 100% popular, but it is what the people want. And you know what? If you do what the people want and not what the corporate world wants or billionaire campaign contributors want, you win elections. If you raise the minimum wage to a living wage, you win elections. If you expand Medicare to include dental and hearing and vision, which recently in a poll had only 87% support, you win elections. If you build housing and create jobs, you win elections. If you give tax breaks to the rich, you're probably not going to win. So my own view is there is an agenda out there, and the cancellation of student debt is one part of it. But we've got to go further and show working families we're on their side.
There are people on the other side of it. Ted Cruz has been plotting with folks to try to challenge it in court. Republican legal challenges are expected to start once the applications start rolling out. Legal experts say it's possible the administration's plan could be frozen by a federal judge. What do you think about this plot to try to find someone that is standing to block this in court?
Well, I think it sounds to me very much what happened with the Supreme Court ruling on abortion. It turns out that the overwhelming majority of the American people think it is women who have the right to control their own lives, not the Republican Party. Strong majority of the American people think we should cancel student debt. And if Senator Cruz and others want to challenge that, I think that's going to hurt them politically. It's the wrong thing to do, and I think it hurts them politically.
One of the most striking features of the last 2 years, which have been strange in many ways, obviously coming out of the worst parts of the COVID pandemic still with us, inflation high, labor markets very tight, has been this raft of union organizing, unlike anything that we've really seen in, I think it's fair to say, decades. The NLRB showing the union elections won by mid-year. You can see that spike there in 2022. It's been about 20 years since we've seen this. What do you think's going on here?
It ain't hard to tell you, to figure out. Workers are working, in many instances, longer hours for lower wages, and with inflation, they're falling further and further behind. You want to know what's going on? In the last 49 years, real wages today are lower than they were 49 years ago, despite an increase in productivity. Almost all of the new income and wealth is going to the people on top. And what working people are saying, excuse me, I can't afford to buy a house, I can't afford to send my kids to college, and yet during the pandemic, the billionaire class saw a $2 trillion increase in their wealth. That's what's going on. People are standing up, fighting back. We've been involved in many of these strikes. We're involved in this railroad situation right now, where you're seeing the most ugly type of corporate greed imaginable. Railroads, 5 major railroads, made $20 billion in profits last year. Meanwhile, over the last 6 years, they laid off a third of their workforce. And when workers get sick and they have to stay home, they are in a position to lose their jobs. So what you're seeing right now are workers saying enough is enough. You guys on top, you can't have it all. We need an economy that works for all of us. Unions are one vehicle that help people get decent wages and working conditions.
You know, I have to say, as someone who, covers this kind of stuff, it came as news to me that railroad workers don't get sick days. I think it came as news to the President of the United States. Hopefully that's going to change. We're going to see if they're going to ratify this new contract, but that appears to be one of the changes. Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
What are your thoughts on what Bernie Sanders has to say? Do you agree, disagree? Student loan forgiveness, a good idea, bad idea? Do you agree with some, all, nothing? Let me know your thoughts on what he said there. So expanded child tax credit, reduced child poverty, so Congress must renew it. So there has been more pushes for child tax credits coming out, which is the Democrats' plan to try to get something done, but it is not getting full support. So a new proposal has been put out. So Hinson proposes hefty increase in federal child tax credit. Basically, this is a whole new plan. The legislation would let parents withdraw their future Social Security benefits for 3 months to support parents leave after the birth of a baby. The bill would make it easier for faith-based organizations to secure federal grants for social service programs, including those that advise and support pregnant women. And then also it goes into here, Hinson's bill would raise the credit even higher than last year's level, a 20% increase for parents with kids under 5 and 15% more for parents with kids between ages 6 and 16. So basically, this new proposal for child tax credit would increase the payout and borrow from Social Security benefits for the future to help out with leave. What's it called? With the baby leave. So that is one proposal going out. Not sure if it'll pick up steam because the Democrats can't even get a regular child tax credit out. But is this the right thing to do? Should a child tax credit also be paired with some other credit to help out people on Social Security, those who are struggling most, veterans, SSI, SSDI, should they be included in the mix as well? Unfortunately, and I guess fortunately as well, depending on your situation, parents or people with kids are getting a lot more of the stimulus money compared to those without kids or who had kids that are all grown up. Those who are single, those who are living on their own, those on a fixed income of Social Security. Should it be more well-rounded? Should there be a more well-rounded approach? Let me know your thoughts on that. When it comes to different child tax credit, which states have expanded payments and for how long? So when it comes to this, California provides up to $1,000 to families no matter what their earning status is. And then Colorado giving income limited credit of $600 per children under the age of 6. Then Connecticut, $250 per child under the age of 19. Idaho, $205 for kids under the age of 17. Maine is $300 per child under the age of 17. Massachusetts, $180 per dependent and $360 for 2 or more. And New Jersey, $500 per child under the age of 6. New Mexico, $175 for each child under the age of 17. New York, $330 per child under the age of 17. And Oklahoma, $100 per child under the age of 17. Rhode Island, $250 per child up to 3 children under the age of 19. And then Vermont, $1,000 per child under the age of 6. So those, excuse me, those are the child tax credits that are on a state level in addition to the federal child tax credits that one may get as well. But these states are giving more money to parents or guardians with children. Yeah, and that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I'm going to tell someone what you should do. Don't let anybody tell you different. You are beautiful. You are full with excitement. You are great the way you are. Don't let anybody tell you any different. You are great the way you are. You are full with excitement, and you are great just the way you are in person. Bye. That's all I wanted to say for you. And be yourself. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little under the weather, just nose running, throat a little scratchy, as you could tell, a little nasally, not really breathing much through my nose because it's all clogged. But hopefully you have a great rest of your day. If you want to check out any of my other videos on my other channels, click right up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.